The Hearts of Gold podcast is brought to you by the Grow and Share Network, produced by Thrill Media.
Welcome to Hearts of Gold. Today we have Carolina with us. Hi, Carolina.
Hi.
Can you tell us about your Girl Scout Gold Award project?
Okay, I'll start really at the beginning. My original goal was to combat chronic absenteeism due to a lack of laundry resources. They had a washing machine and a dryer in the basement of the school that had been sitting there for years, and I wanted to get them installed. And I also wanted to do the same in my middle school, and they came back to me and they were like, oh, we already did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, awesome. So this is something that's been being implemented in schools across all 5 boroughs. So I was really excited about oh my gosh, I'm going to get to do this too. This is a thing that's happening. I spent about 2 years going back and forth with the custodians and the teacher whose room he said he would put it in, and the principal and the assistant principal and the parent coordinator and the head custodian. I just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock. Who's going to be security? We're going to have to pay security more. Well, parents can't be there when the kids are there. Who's going to set up the plumbing? There's asbestos in the walls. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And all this time I was raising money to support this project. So I ended up raising about $1,300, which felt really awesome. I was like, wow, this is great. I'm totally going to do this. And I got an email from the principal, and she said, hey, so I talked to, the higher ups, and basically we'd have to put in a proposal and it would cost $150,000. And I was like, oh, well, I have about a penny's worth of that. So we had to shift gears a lot because I wasn't going to give up on this project, because this really was something that I was passionate about, and I was so determined to give because I was hearing from parents, I was hearing from teachers and from students that this is something that the community needs. The teacher who I was working with, who wanted the machines in his room, he had, the little Amazon machines that are $30 and they wash 5 t-shirts. He had those, and he was like, it's constantly in use because kids need it, because it's in elementary, middle, and high school. So, messy high school kids, messy first graders, everybody's messy. And so it was really something that the community needed and wanted. If I can't give them the machines, what can we give them? So I made a post to a Facebook group. I met with my Girl Scout group troop leader. I met with people at the Girl Scouts of Greater New York council, and we came up with a plan to spend the money on care packages for the students who didn't have access to laundry at home, because there are the students who just made an oops and had a dirty shirt and needed it washed, and then there are students that are in temporary housing and have no washing machine or dryer or can't afford to go to the laundromat. I worked with the parent coordinator, and she gave me a number of how many students approximately in the school were currently living in temporary housing and could benefit most from these resources. And she was like, you don't have to, it was 74. She's like, that's a big number. You don't really have that much money in the grand scheme of things. You don't have to make one for everyone. And I was like, oh, are you serious? You just told me there are 74 students that need this. I'm giving 74 students this, this resource. So I spent a lot of time researching on Amazon, on Google, on all of the Costco and everywhere to find the best prices of laundry resources to put together care packages of the necessities and try to give them things that they would need the most. So I ended up putting together 74 care packages of the things that I decided you would need the most. So laundry bags, laundry sheets, dryer balls, which are, reusable. And then, so then it was a mix of Tide sticks and fabric refresher spray. Maybe you don't have to do laundry as much because you can just get that little stain out and respray it so it smells nice again. And I handed those out, and it was so awesome to have everyone coming in and helping me. And the room that I put them in, it was full. It was overflowing with these bags, and it was so great. And I had so many parents come up to me and say thank you so much. This was so helpful. And parents reaching out to the parent coordinator and saying, wow, this is so great. And it was so much fun. And it was so fulfilling to see how far I've come, because it took 3 years to get here. It was so great. And I loved being able to give to that community that's given me so much, and my family so much. And I loved it so much. And I can't wait to do more like that.
For those who don't know what the connection is between school and clean clothes, can you share a little bit about that?
Actually, if you really want to learn more, I have a whole Instagram account dedicated to like educating and spreading awareness on this because I really didn't know that much about it either. So it's called SUDS for FOR students. But basically, chronic absenteeism is when a student misses 10% or more of the school year, which typically is about 18 days. So that's like 2.5 weeks. Chronic absenteeism has been proved to be linked to a lack of laundry resources because if you don't have clean clothes, you can't go to school. If you're going to school with dirty clothes, you're getting bullied. You're insecure. You don't really have friends. You're too busy thinking about that to you can't pay attention to the lesson. Your mind is elsewhere. You have other priorities. I wish I could remember the stats off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's about 3.5 million students who are affected by this. It's a lot, and it's a lot more than you'd think, especially in New York City. About 35% of students were chronically absent in New York City in 2024. I did so much research on, I wish I could remember it off the top of my head, but it's all there. I've compiled all of it for everyone to go through and sift and repost and talk about because it really is something that you don't think about. You think about, oh, kids skip school, kids miss school for all sorts of reasons, but like not because they don't have clean clothes, like that is such a necessity that you don't even think. I really didn't think about it, which is such a privilege. Chronic absenteeism is such a huge problem in New York City, especially, as is lack of laundry resources, especially for the high amounts of students who are living in temporary housing or just in small apartments that don't have access to washing machines or dryers and you can't always afford the time or the money to get to a laundromat. So, yeah.
You mentioned how your project started with the goal of getting the wash machine and dryer installed and transitioned into these care packages. Can you tell us about from the very beginning what's your initial spark was and then how you worked with your council and made those changes to get to where you had your final gold award project?
I think what you mean is the initial spark of us all realizing we need to shift gears because this washing machine is not getting installed was really when I got that email saying $150,000. I was like, I don't have that. I really then was like, okay, this isn't happening and the school doesn't want it to happen as much as I do. So there's no reason for me to keep pushing. And I need to find a new way that I can give this community what they so obviously want, but they were like, we have other projects that we need to address and are more dire than this. So I was like, I respect it. I understand it. Let's find another way. And we were like, okay, well, it's still a necessity. Laundry is still something that is needed and people are in need of these resources and still don't have them. So how can we give it to them without having the machines installed? And we were like, well, there are so many other aspects of getting laundry done other than the like machine itself. And we were like, and that was something else we were thinking about, like, how are we going to get all of these detergents and everything? So I was like, okay, what if I just give them that? And then I give them a list of resources. So I also gave them a list of places, shelters and laundromats that had cheap rates that they could go to get their laundry done. So I called a bunch of places and whatever to make sure that they knew that this is somewhere that you can go and this is something that you can use. That was like the real turning point. And having so many meetings with, I don't know what her title is, but Mary Jo and Maggie and my troop leader. And yeah.
And for reference, Mary Jo and Maggie are both with your council.
Yes, yeah.
For people that don't know that, I wanted to share so that they had context on who these people were. Who else was on your team and how did they help you?
Honestly, my mom and my friends. There were a few moments where I was like, they don't want this. This can't happen. How am I supposed to do this? And she was like, you're supposed to do it because you want to do it. And because this is something that you want and this is something that they need and you can give them. She was like, you wouldn't have started this project if it couldn't have gotten done. And you get stuff done. And I was like, you're right. And my friends were like, you are so cool. You've done things like this before. You're going to do things like this again. And, I constantly have people in my ear reminding me, like, you want this and they want this. And you get things done. You're going to get this done. And I had people helping me with, I'm really bad at math. And I was like, oh my gosh, this somehow turned into budgeting. And I'm, I'm not about that. And my friends were like, I'm in AP math. I can help you with this. My friends were like, okay, let's do this math together. Let's work this together. So that was really great having my support system outside of the Girl Scout community, but in my own community.
How do you feel you grew because of the Gold Award project?
You have to push for things. Things don't just fall into your lap, especially things like this, like charity work like this and like giving to people. It's something that I'm so passionate about, and I love community service and giving to those in need. But it's something that it's not easy to do, and so it's not done a lot. And it's really easy to see, like, oh, they gave this out and they did this and they have a food drive, and it seems so easy, and it really takes pushing to have people give just because they want to and do things for their community, even though it didn't really do anything for me. It fulfilled me emotionally, but really, I do my laundry by myself all the time. It's fine. But being able to know that I helped other people and hear these people come to me and say, like, wow, like this really did change for me was so great. And like, I think it really just taught me, like, and reminded me and like instilled a new like passion and drive in me that like this is something that I love to do and that needs to be done. And I can do it, and I can do it more. I've wanted to pursue politics for a long time. I've always wanted to pursue something that I could be a change maker in, and this really like lit this like fire inside me even more, that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this for the rest of my life.
What did you learn about the Gold Award process itself that you didn't know before that could be helpful for others that are considering earning their Gold Award?
There are just so many like tedious little like rules and regulations about like how you raise your money, where your money goes, how you log the spending of your money and the raising of the money and the hours spent and who it's spent with and who's, in charge of your project. The amount of times I had to change who was my project manager before you even start, like sit down and read all of the rules and all of the regulations and all of the requirements for you to earn it, because you want to be able to do this project without constantly having to be stressed about, okay, am I doing it right? Am I going to get in trouble for this? Are they going to let me have my award if I do it this way? Like, just be able to be in your project and not stressed about the award and have that in the forefront.
What other Girl Scout activities have you been involved with, or other Girl Scout memories you'd like to share?
I did a destination journey to justice. It was a week-long program in Atlanta, and it was focused around like learning about the civil rights movement. And I just adored it. I made friends that I still talk to now. I'm seeing them commit to college, and we're texting each other like, oh my God, you're going to be president. No, you're going to be president. Like, we had so much fun, like being surrounded by like-minded women who like have the same passion and drive for you as you do. And the experiences that we had, the museums that we visited, there was one day we were on the bus for like 3 hours. Before we even got off the bus, some guy got on and he just started shouting at us. We're like, oh my God, what's happening? And it was basically this like museum and an interactive experience that educated us on what it was like during the time of slavery in America. Just opened my eyes, and I really looked at it from a whole new perspective. And I met someone who was a freedom fighter. I went to so many like small museums, and I met other Girl Scouts who did projects, and it was just so empowering. It was so empowering and educating and wonderful, and I loved it. And I really encourage everyone to apply and try to do a destination. I think that's what they're called, or journey destination. And yeah, I just adored it, and I talk about it every chance I can because I had such a fun time.
For those that don't know what a destination is, can you tell us how you found the one that clearly really aligns with your interests and what the application process was like?
Yeah, so this was 3 years ago, so it's a little fuzzy for me, but I remember my mom heard about it online and she was like, "Hey, like you should look into these like destinations. Like this looks really cool." And I was like, "Oh, like yeah, because I love to learn and like vacation plus learning, like hello." We just went on the website and scrolled through all of them and was like, Thailand looks crazy cool. But at the end of the day, this one just seemed like it aligned with like the passions that I have. And like, I have such a passion for history and social justice that this really aligned most with what I want to do with my life and the knowledge that I want to fill myself with. And also I have family in Atlanta, so it was cool. I got to stay with them for a few days. So it all just it felt perfect. And I was like, oh, this is it. And as for the application, I'm sure there was an essay.
For the listeners that aren't familiar with destinations, this is a Girl Scout activity, and they list their destinations every fall on the website. And girls do have to apply, and they actually come from all over the world to attend these destinations because we have Girl Scouts overseas that also attend them. And there's so many things for so many different interests that I really encourage Girl Scouts to look at that list and see what is of interest to you. And there's domestic where you stay in the United States, but there's also trips that go, as you said, Thailand, but they go all over the world. It's a great program, and I love it when I get to talk to Girl Scouts that have been on those destinations. Because they really are impactful. Do you have other Girl Scout memories to share?
I got invited 2 years ago, I think, to represent the Girl Scouts along with a bunch of other Gold Award awardees and like girls on their way to earning their Gold Award. So I hadn't earned it yet, but I was working on it. We went to the UNICEF House in Manhattan for World Children's Day, I think. And we got to discuss our projects, and there was a speaker there. And this is like such a silly story that I love to tell. They told us there was going to be this speaker, and she was this woman in law, and she was like the CEO of UNICEF, I think, or some very important higher up woman. And I was like, I researched her, I had questions ready to ask her, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she is so cool. She does what I want to do. Like I want to follow in her footsteps. I'm so excited. I'm so inspired by her already. I can't wait to meet her. And then they were like, okay, hey guys, so our speaker is on his way. And I was like, his way. They were like, I don't know. He's a football player. I'm not sure if you're familiar. David Beckham. And I was like, what? But what about my lady? My like, and I was like, and everyone was like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm so confused. And so I Googled him and I was like, oh, okay. I had no questions prepared for him. It was so awkward, but he was so interesting to talk to. And it was really cool. And I had learned so much about him. And he was a really inspiring person. I was like, football, I don't care about soccer. What is this? And I was like, oh, wait, he is really awesome. He like gives a lot to UNICEF. He does a lot of charity work, and he's a great guy. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And so, yeah, I met David Beckham.
That is very cool. Did you ever reach out to the woman who you thought was going to be your speaker?
No, but I think that's a good idea, and maybe I should.
Yeah. What are your plans for your future?
Well, next year I'm off to Canada for university. I'm attending McGill. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to be studying political science, and everybody says I'm going to be president. And I don't know about that, but I just know that I want to be the change. I just know that I have done so much community service because I love it, and I love being a part of the change that my community needs. And I just want to be in a position where I can make greater change on a greater scale and help thousands of people instead of 74. That's my goal. My only goal in life is just like help, change.
I'm sure you're going to do great. What else would you like to share with the audience?
Be big, be bold. I think that's like what I try and do in everything that I do. And I think, you don't have to be big and be bold. You don't have to be loud or like extroverted or outgoing. You can be shy and be bold, and you can be shy and be big. There are plenty of people who I have met who are just so shy and they're so quiet, and they have made such a big impact in my life and in their community. And you would never assume, how big they are in how quiet they present themselves. So yeah, I think you should always be big and be bold in all of your actions and all of your words all the time.
How do you make your s'mores?
Marshmallow, golden brown, always gold, no burnt, perfectly golden brown. And I will make somebody else to eat if it gets burned. Don't play about that. Sometimes no graham cracker because it just gets crummy and I'm just not in the mood. So just 2 pieces of chocolate and,
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure to click follow or subscribe so you always know when new episodes are released. Power your passion and conquer your challenges.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to be on the show to share your story with how you earned your Gold Award, reach out and send an email to growandsshare@outlook.com. Be sure to catch up on our previous shows on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, as well as view the full video versions at youtube.com/Cheryl M. Robinson. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.